The wind whispered softly through the tall prairie grass as the sun began its slow descent behind the mountains. Each evening, the same tiny figure could be seen walking down the dusty path that led from the worn-out shack near the woods to the old stone well. Barefoot, with a cracked wooden bucket clutched tightly in her small hands, the little girl walked with the steady purpose of someone who had long forgotten what it meant to be a child. Her name was Lucy Mae. She was only 9 years old, but hardship had aged her eyes far beyond her years. Every day, just as the sky began to turn the color of embers, she would make her way to the well to draw water for her sick mother. The family had once been 4, her father, her mother, her baby brother, and her. But the fever had come the previous winter, taking her father and the baby in one cruel sweep. Only her mother had survived, though barely. Since then, Lucy had learned to cook thin soup, tend a small patch of garden, and walk the lonely road to the well each day. The town nearby, Dry Creek, had long forgotten the old shack by the woods. Folks whispered about the girl sometimes, saying it was a shame no one had taken her in. But life was hard in Dry Creek, and pity didn't fill stomachs. That evening, as Lucy approached the well, she hummed a tune her mother used to sing when times were good. Her bare feet made soft prints in the dust. The well stood silent under a leaning oak, its stones worn smooth by years of use. She set down her bucket, grasped the rope, and began to turn the handle. The creak of the pulley was the only sound in the twilight air. Then came another sound, hooves. Startled, Lucy froze. She hadn't seen another soul near the well in months. The hooves drew closer until a tall figure on horseback appeared at the bend in the road. He was a cowboy, broad-shouldered, dust-covered, his hat pulled low. A rifle hung from his saddle, and his horse, a chestnut gelding, snorted softly as they came to a stop. The cowboy tipped his hat, his eyes kind but curious. "Evenin', missy," he said, his voice deep and gentle. "You out here all by yourself?" Lucy's heart thudded in her chest. Strangers made her nervous, especially men, but there was something steady in his gaze that told her he meant no harm. She nodded slowly. "Yes, sir, I'm getting water for my mama. She's poorly." The man dismounted and walked closer, careful not to scare her. "Your mama's sick, huh? How long's she been healing?" Lucy frowned in concentration. "Since last winter, after the fever took Papa and baby Joe. I been talking care of her since then." The cowboy's jaw tightened, and he looked at the frail little girl before him, her dress patched and faded, her face smudged with dust, her arms thin as twigs. "Ain't there no one helping you?" She shook her head. "No, sir, I can do it." She turned the handle again, and the bucket splashed into the water below. The cowboy watched her small hands strain against the rope. He stepped forward. "Here, let me give you a hand. I can manage," she insisted, pulling harder. He smiled faintly. "I don't doubt that one bit. But it don't hurt to have help." Before she could protest again, he caught the rope and in one easy motion drew the full bucket to the surface. He set it down gently, his movements careful and respectful. "Thank you," Lucy said shyly, brushing a lock of hair from her face. The cowboy knelt beside her. "You got a name, darlin'?" "Lucy Mae." "Well, Lucy Mae, name's Caleb Turner. I been riding north from El Paso looking for work. Thought I'd water my horse here before making camp. Lucky for me, I ran into someone worth meeting." Lucy smiled for the first time in a long while. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Turner." "Just Caleb's fine." He filled his canteen and took a long drink, then glanced toward the fading light. "Your place far from here?" "Not too far, just down yonder by the woods." He looked at the small bucket, then at the skinny little girl. "That's a long walk for someone your size, and a mighty heavy load." Lucy shrugged. "Mama needs water to drink and for her wash. If I don't fetch it, she can't get better." Something in her simple words struck deep in Caleb's heart. He had seen more than his share of sorrow, lost his wife and boy to sickness 2 years back. Since then, he'd drifted from town to town, too restless to stay, too broken to belong. But looking at Lucy Mae, he felt something stir, a feeling he thought was long gone. "Tell you what," he said, lifting the bucket and tying it to his saddle horn. "Why don't I walk you home? My horse could use the stretch, and it's getting dark anyhow." Lucy hesitated, then nodded. She walked beside him as the cowboy led his horse down the narrow path. The evening air grew cooler, and the first stars blinked awake above the hills. Along the way, Lucy told him about her mother, how she used to bake pies for the church fairs, how she'd sing to baby Joe, and how now she mostly slept, too weak to rise. When they reached the little shack, Caleb's chest tightened. The place looked barely standing. Roof sagging, one shutter hanging loose, smoke long gone from the chimney. He followed Lucy inside, ducking under the low doorway. The single room smelled of damp wood and sickness. On a cot near the window lay a woman, pale as linen, her breathing shallow. "Mama," Lucy whispered, setting the bucket beside the bed. "This is Mr. Caleb. He helped me with the water." The woman opened her eyes, weak but kind. "You've been good to my Lucy," she murmured. "Thank you, sir." Caleb tipped his hat, "Just lending a hand, ma'am. Looks like you two been through a rough spell." The woman gave a faint smile. "We manage. My little girl's stronger than she looks." That night, Caleb made a small fire outside the shack and cooked some beans and bacon from his saddlebag. He insisted Lucy and her mother eat first. It had been a long time since either of them had tasted meat. Lucy ate quietly, watching the cowboy with wide eyes, unsure if he would stay or leave like everyone else had. After supper, Caleb checked the old roof, patched a hole with his spare top, and fetched more wood for the fire. When Lucy's mother began to cough, he helped her sit up and gave her sips of water. He had the rough hands of a rancher but the gentle touch of a man who'd once held a child. Over the next few days, Caleb stayed. He fixed the fence, brought food from town, and fetched water from the well so Lucy wouldn't have to. When the doctor came by, an old friend Caleb had met in Dry Creek, he treated Lucy's mother and left some medicine. Slowly, her color began to return. One evening, Lucy sat outside watching the sunset with Caleb. "Are you gonna leave soon?" she asked softly. Caleb looked at her and smiled sadly. "Didn't figure that far ahead yet, sweetheart. Got no place that needs me right now. You could stay here," she said quickly. "Mama likes you, and I like you too." He chuckled. "Well now, that's the nicest thing I've heard in a long time." Weeks passed, and the house by the woods began to look less like a ruin and more like a home. Caleb taught Lucy to ride his horse, to tie knots, and to whistle through her fingers. He built a small chicken coop and planted a patch of corn. Lucy's laughter, once rare as rain, filled the air again. But one morning, as summer ripened, a letter came. It was from a rancher up north offering Caleb steady work and a small cabin, something he hadn't had in years. He folded the letter slowly, torn between duty and the little family that had found him. That evening, he told Lucy's mother about the offer. She looked at him long and hard, her eyes soft with understanding. "You've given us more than we ever could have hoped for," she said. "But you deserve a life too." He nodded, staring at the floor. "Ain't sure I can just walk away." "Then don't," she whispered. "Stay if your heart says stay." When he stepped outside, Lucy was waiting by the fence, her eyes glistening. "You're leaving, ain't you?" He knelt beside her, brushing a tear from her cheek. "Maybe just for a spell, but I'll be back, I promise." She shook her head fiercely. "Everyone says that." Caleb took her small hand and placed something in it, a tiny silver locket with a picture of his wife and son inside. "This belonged to my little boy. Keep it safe for me till I come back." Lucy clutched it to her chest, silent. And so he rode away at dawn, the rising sun painting the sky gold. But true to his word, months later, when the leaves turned red and the harvest was good, a familiar figure rode down the road toward the shack by the woods. Lucy was waiting by the fence, her braid flying in the wind. Her mother stood in the doorway, stronger now, smiling as Caleb dismounted. "You came back," Lucy whispered. "Told you I would," he said with a grin. That evening, as they sat around the fire, laughter rose from the little home once more. The lonely cowboy who had lost everything found his peace in a small girl's courage, and the little girl who had once walked to the well alone never had to go alone again. Sometimes, the road of sorrow bends toward grace when two lost souls find each other under the wide, forgiving sky. And from that day on, whenever Lucy went to the well, there were always two sets of footprints in the dust, one small, one large, side by side.